Mr. Depp, Mr. Rottenborn asked you some questions about the UK trial. Why do you feel that this is the first time that you've actually had an opportunity to tell your story and, as you said, get the load off your back?
As the UK trial was me suing Dan Wooten and the Sun for defamation for calling me a wife beater. The UK have there are different laws, there are different ways they handle things. There are also limitations in evidence. Some things can be brought up, some things cannot be brought up.
Mr. Rottenborn. He's talking about limitations in evidence in English.
Your Honor, he's talking about his experience testifying.
Overruled.
You'll be okay. Yes, there is a very everything is quite boxed in with regard to what can be said, what can be spoken about. So Ms. Heard provided information to the Sun as their star witness, but the case was not brought against Ms. Heard. It was brought against the Sun newspaper, journal, whatever it is.
Mr. Rottenborn referenced that you were on the stand for multiple days.
4.5, I believe, yes.
Yeah. What was the nature of that examination? Or, excuse me, who was conducting that examination of you?
QC Sasha Was.
And whose attorney was that?
The Sun's.
Can we please pull up DX 857A?
All right, it's already in evidence, so you can publish it.
Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing this text message when Mr. Rottenborn was questioning you?
Oh, yes, I do.
Can you explain what you're conveying to Mr. Carino in this text message?
I'm in total shock that this is happening to me, that my entire life on the planet has been brought to the head of a pin with all this completely, utterly false information. So I am, when you're accused of horrific acts and things that you have not done, when it's actually some very ugly things that are going out there into the world about you on a non-stop basis by Ms. Heard and her team, you have a tendency as humans to get very, very irate and angry, not to the point where you go out and hurt someone, not to the point even where you assault a cabinet. But you do get irate, you do wonder why this person is doing this to me. So yeah, many things go through your head. And then you've got your family, you've got your kids, you've got your parents. My mom, thankfully, didn't get to read any of this, because that would have killed her. But my father, my family, everyone that I've met, the people that have supported me, suddenly I'm scum. Why? Never had to happen. One little lie. So yes, very angry.
Could we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 821? Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing this text message when Mr. Ottenborn was asking you questions?
Yes, he loves this one, yes.
Yes. Would you care to explain what you're trying to convey in this text message?
Well, Warner Brothers was about to find, they were about to find themselves in quite a dilemma as the person that they had just cast.
Objection, Your Honor. Lack of foundation as to what Warner Brothers knew or thought.
Didn't I meet with them?
All right. We could just wait for the question. I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, without explaining what Warner Brothers felt, why did you send this text message to your sister? And what were, excuse me, strike that. What were you trying to convey to your sister when you sent this text message?
Honestly, I felt responsibility for having gone to those people and you know, painted such a beautiful picture.
Objection. Hearsay, Your Honor. Now he's talking about what he said to Warner Brothers.
Overruled.
Please continue.
You change seats.
So, sorry, you can continue.
I felt it was my responsibility to get the truth to Warner Brothers about what they were going to end up facing down the line, which is 2 franchises that would be causing problems for one another, especially as any news, any press, any media that came out about me at that time had been turned into, you know, I was Charles Manson, you know, I was the worst thing on earth, and they just kept coming. It was like a non-stop fire. So my responsibility, after having painted a beautiful picture of her for them, was to tell them, I think you better.
Objection, Your Honor. He's getting into what he claims he told Warner Brothers or wanted to.
He's saying what he wanted to tell them. He's not saying what he actually told them.
I'll sustain the objection. Next question.
Mr. Depp, you mentioned 2 franchise films with Warner Brothers. What 2 franchise films are you referring to?
There was Aquaman and Fantastic Beasts, the one that I was in.
And why did you feel a responsibility with respect to those 2 franchise films?
Warner Brothers was starting to get quite upset about some of the things that were being said about me in the press that were constant hit pieces. You know, on one level, yes, it's just acting, it's just movies, but it's business, and it's your word. And I had given my word to them, and I felt responsible that I had to tell them exactly what was going on, and that it was going to end up ugly.
And which of those 2 film franchises were you a part of?
I'm sorry?
Which of those 2 film franchises were you a part of?
I was in Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and I was in the Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Could we please pull up DX 883? Now, Mr. Depp, do you recall seeing these text messages during Mr. Rottenborn's examination?
Oh, God, yeah. Yes, I remember.
And you didn't seem to recall these text messages, is that
It truly is fair. It's not, I'm not
Do you have
See
any?
those. I don't know who Molly is. I don't know nothing about this.
Do you have any understanding of what you're referring to in this text message? Or these two text messages?
No. I honestly, if somebody else had borrowed my phone or something and made this text to Stephen, possibly. But I don't understand the. I don't have that kind of. I don't have that kind of hubris or expectation. That's quite grotesque text.
Can we take that down, please? Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1821? Mr. Depp, do you recognize this document?
That is behind the bar, yes.
Okay. And do you see Mr. Ronborn asked you some questions about whether there was a telephone
Yes,
in
now
Australia.
I see a telephone there now.
Yes. And did you recall that telephone being there?
I don't recall the telephone being there, but I can see it now.
Can we please pull up Defendant's Exhibit 1820? Do you recall me showing you this text message earlier on? Or excuse me, do you recall
yes,
me showing
of
you
course.
this picture
Yes.
during your examination?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. And I think I asked you whether you recall a phone being mounted on the wall in the left of this picture. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And what was your answer to that?
No.
Mr. Depp, Mr. Rottenborn asked you some questions about your honeymoon. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And I believe you had testified that you and Miss Heard were on the Orient Express together.
That's correct, yes.
Where had you been prior to being on the Orient Express?
We had been in Australia. And then made it over to Thailand to catch the Orient Express.
If we could bring up the Plaintiff's Exhibit 162 again. Mr. Depp, do you know who took this picture?
Malcolm Connolly.
And despite what Mr. Rottenborn showed you about the picture of you prior to this, do you see a bruise on your face in this picture?
I see like what looks like a pretty decent shiner and a kind of a scratched up nose, yes.
And do you recall how you got the scratches and the shiner?
There was a very brief freak out that Miss Heard had in our cabin just before this dinner. I can't remember why, but there were many. I remember taking the photograph, though. I mean, I remember being there. I remember meeting the chef and all. But I mean, the quality of the photo is not great. The quality of the other photo that he showed us has been prettied up.
Mr. Depp, did you ever physically abuse Miss Heard during your relationship?
Never. Never.
No further questions.
All right, sir, you can have a seat next to your attorneys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Your next witness.
That called Morgan Tremaine.
Didn't quite get that, I'm sorry.
Mr. Depp calls Morgan Tremaine.
All right, Morgan Tremaine.